There is something within you that seeks to emerge, yet you are not allowing it. You know exactly what I am talking about. It is not a vague idea. It is a specific thing, a talent you underestimate, a truth you swallow every time you open your mouth, a version of yourself that appears when no one is watching, when you are alone, when you lower your guard, when you stop performing, and that vanishes the instant the world pays attention again. This version is more real than anything you present in public, and the suffering you carry, that chronic malaise that isn't exactly sadness, isn't exactly anxiety, but a constant pressure tightening from within. This suffering has an origin you have never considered. It does not come from what you lack. It comes from what exists within you and is being suffocated. In the next few minutes, I will show you what this is, why it is causing you pain, and what happens when you finally let it out. And what happens is not small. If this channel has already ignited something within you that was extinguished, subscribe now, because this video is the most personal I have ever made. Let us begin with what you are feeling. And I need to name this with precision, because imprecision is what keeps this pain in the dark. First symptom, guilt without a crime. You feel guilty, but when you try to identify why, you find nothing specific. You haven't betrayed anyone. You haven't stolen anything. You haven't deliberately hurt anyone. And yet, there is a diffuse, persistent guilt that weighs on your shoulders as if you had failed at something fundamental. IPEA published a study on mental health and productivity in Brazil, showing that a significant portion of Brazilian adults over 35 report a chronic feeling of insufficiency, the sensation that regardless of what they achieve, they are not doing enough. And the most revealing data, this sensation is more intense in people who objectively are producing well.
Attention, you need to prepare now. I put together an exclusive resource for those who feel set apart for something greater, but live surrounded by noise, distractions, and mental overload. This is a 30-day journey that will transform your life, a guided path to armor your mind and prepare for what's coming, with daily practices of focus, boundaries, and discipline. Stop negotiating with the noise. Learn to spot distractions before they control you and strengthen your mind. Also available in an immersive audio version. Over 10,000 readers have already transformed their lives through the 30-day journey. Thousands of people have already started this transformation. People like you who were tired of living in the fog. Ordinary people who decided to stop accepting mental chaos. Take advantage of this limited time offer only this month. Access your link just below in the pinned comment.
It is not those who do little who feel insufficient. It is those who do much, but do not do that. That thing which lives in the center of the chest and has been postponed, minimized, rationalized as impractical. The guilt you feel is not for something you did. It is for something you are not being. Second symptom, the performance of adequacy. You have built a version of yourself that works, that is accepted, that pays the bills, maintains relationships, and receives approval. And this version is competent, professional, polite, adequate. But in moments of silence, in that instant between action and sleep, in that fraction of a second when the masks fall, you feel the weight of sustaining it. Researchers from the Albert Einstein Israelite Hospital in São Paulo published data on what clinical psychologists call self-presentation fatigue, the exhaustion that results not from the work itself, but from the constant maintenance of a public image that diverges from the internal self. This fatigue is cumulative. It is not resolved with vacations or rest, because what tires you is not what you do, but what you pretend to be while doing it. And as the years pass, the distance between who you are and who you present becomes an abyss that consumes more energy than any job or responsibility. Third symptom, the fear of being truly seen. It seems paradoxical. In the last video, we talked about the desire to be seen, but what you feel is both things at once. You deeply desire to be recognized in your essence, and simultaneously, you are terrified that it might happen. Because being truly seen means being seen whole, with the talent you minimize, with the desire you hide, with the ambition you call pretension so you don't have to face it. The Central Bank of Brazil, in its research on financial behavior, identified that a significant portion of Brazilians with a proven capacity to generate higher income voluntarily remain at levels below their potential. Researchers called this self-restriction by adequacy, the deliberate limitation of one's own capabilities to remain within the limits the social environment expects. You read that correctly. People who could do more choose less, so as not to stand out. And this dynamic does not operate only in the financial sphere, it permeates everything. The creativity you do not express, the leadership you do not assume, the voice you do not raise. If these symptoms hit you, leave a like now. This video needs to reach those who are suffocating their own essence without even realizing that this is what is causing the pain. Now let us get to the cause. And here I will open the concept I promised in the previous video, and which is perhaps the most important of everything I have ever presented on this channel. The word is tselem, T-S-E-L-E-M. In Hebrew, tselem is the word used in the first chapter of Genesis, when the text says that the human being was created in the image of God. B'Tselem Elohim, in the image of God. But Tselem does not mean copy. It does not mean replica. The root of the word is associated with shadow, impression, stamp, like the seal a king presses into hot wax. The seal is not the king, but it carries the unmistakable mark of the king. It is the signature. It is what makes that document authentic and distinct from any other. Every human being, according to this understanding, carries a tselem, an original impression that is absolutely unique. There is no other human being who carries the same mark. None existed before. None will exist after. What you have inside you, that irreproducible combination of experiences, gifts, wounds, intuitions, and capacities, is not accidental. It is the tselem. It is the stamp that makes you irreplaceable. And here is what no one tells you. The tselem does not ask permission to exist. It presses, it pushes, it demands expression. Just as the seed does not need authorization to germinate, it simply pushes through the earth because that is its design. The tselem pushes from the inside out because that is its nature. And when you suppress it, when you place layers of adequacy, fear, and performance over it, the pressure does not disappear. It converts into pain. The guilt without a crime you feel is the tselem, pressing against the layers that suffocate it. The self-presentation fatigue is the energy cost of keeping those layers in place. The fear of being seen is the terror that, if the layers fall, the tselem will appear, and you will no longer have an excuse not to live it. This connects with a second Hebrew term that changes everything. The word is yetzer, Y-E-T-S-E-R. Yetzer comes from the verb yatzer, which means to form, to mold, like a potter molding clay. In the second chapter of Genesis, the text says that God, Yatsar the human being, formed, molded, sculpted with artisanal intentionality. Yetzer is the result of this process, the formation, the design, the original configuration. If tselem is the image you carry, Yetzer is the way that image was molded to express itself in the world. It includes your natural talents, those things you do with an ease that others do not understand. It includes your wounds, because even the wounds were incorporated into the design, not as a defect, but as raw material that gives you access to experiences that uninjured people will never understand. It includes your specific sensitivity, that which bothers you, moves you, makes you cry when no one else cares. The Yetzer is the answer to the question that haunts you. Why am I here? You are here to express the unique way that tselem was molded in you. And this expression is not optional. It is the reason for your existence. And now the third term, and this is the one that connects everything. The Hebrew word hineni, H-I-N-E-N-I. Hineni is translated as here I am, but this translation cleans up too much of what the word carries. Hineni is not geographical information. It is not I am in this place. Hineni is a total existential declaration. It is I am here, whole, available, present, without reservations, without masks, without retreat. When Abraham heard his name called, he answered, Hineni. When Moses saw the burning bush, he answered, Hineni. When Isaiah saw the vision of the throne and heard the question, "Whom shall I send?" he answered, "Hineni." In all three cases, the person did not know what would come next. Abraham did not know he would be tested. Moses did not know he would be commissioned to free a people. Isaiah did not know he would be sent to a nation that would refuse to hear him. Hineni is not, "I know what to do." Hineni is, "I am here before I know what to do." It is the willingness to present oneself fully before having guarantees. It is the exact opposite of the performance of adequacy. Performance says, "I present myself when I know it is safe." Hineni says, "I present myself now with what I am, without knowing what comes." Now I need to tell you the story of someone who lived the tension between suppressing the tselem and finally saying Hineni in such a visceral way that he became the paradigm of this experience. Abraham, and not the young Abraham, the old Abraham. The Abraham who had already walked decades with a promise, who had already failed and tried to manufacture the fulfillment of the promise with his own hands, the episode with Hagar, which we discussed in the previous video, who had already laughed when God said Sarah would have a son in her old age. Abraham was a man full of layers of doubt, of failed attempts, of disbelief disguised as prudence. And then came the ultimate test, the call to go to Mount Moriah with Isaac. I will not romanticize this story because it is brutal, but what I need you to see is the Hineni. When God called, Abraham answered Hineni. And when Isaac on the way asked, "Father, where is the lamb for the sacrifice?" Abraham did not collapse. He did not flee. He did not invent an excuse. He remained present. He remained whole. Not because he didn't feel fear. It is impossible that he didn't. But because Hineni is not the absence of fear. It is the presence that transcends fear. What this story reveals is not a God who tests cruelly. It is the depth of what it means to appear fully when every fiber of your being wants to retreat. Abraham on Mount Moriah is the tselem in maximum expression, the entire design, the decades of waiting, the failures, the doubts, the promises, converging in a single point of total presence. The second story is that of Isaiah. This prophet had a vision in the temple, seraphim, throne, smoke, and his first reaction was not courage, it was terror. He said, "Woe is me, I am lost, for I am a man of unclean lips." Pay attention. Isaiah did not say, "I lack capacity." He said, "I am unclean." His block was not one of competence, it was of dignity. He did not think himself worthy to be there. He did not think himself deserving of carrying the tselem given to him. And how many times have you done exactly that? How many times have you looked at that talent, that calling, that possibility, and the first reaction was not, "I can't," but "I don't deserve it"? A coal touched Isaiah's lips. The impurity was removed. And then came the question, "Whom shall I send?" And Isaiah, the same man who seconds before declared himself unworthy, answered, "Hineni shelacheni." Here I am, send me. The Brazilian Journal of Psychotherapy published a study analyzing the phenomenon researchers call the deservingness block, the inability to advance not for lack of resource or skill, but due to an internalized conviction of unworthiness. And the most significant discovery, this block is more prevalent in people with high capacity. The more talent, the more intense the sensation of not deserving to use it. It is not false modesty. It is a profound distortion in self-image that prevents the tselem from expressing itself. Isaiah needed something external, the coal, to remove the block he himself could not remove. Sometimes, the permission you need will not come from within. It will come from a moment, a word, an encounter that touches your lip and says, "The barrier you thought insurmountable has already been removed." What is missing now is the Hineni. The third story is that of Job. And here I need to be careful, because Job is perhaps the most extreme case of tselem pressed to the absolute limit. This man lost everything: possessions, children, health, reputation. And for 37 chapters he debated with friends who tried to explain his suffering using surface theology. You sinned, God punished. Peshat, the shallowest level of reading possible. And Job refused to accept this reading, not because he was arrogant, But because the Tselem within him, the capacity to perceive reality in depth, did not allow him to be content with an explanation he knew to be false, Job demanded depth, and in the end, after everything, God answered. Not with an explanation, not with a justification, with presence. 4 chapters of questions that basically said, were you there when I formed the world? Do you know the depth of what exists? And Job's response, the response that closes the entire book, is devastating in its simplicity. He said, I had heard of you by the hearing of the ear, but now my eyes see you by hearing of the ear. Peshat, second-hand information, inherited theology, borrowed truth, but now my eyes see you. Sod, direct experience, knowledge that cannot be transferred, only lived. Job did not receive answers. He received vision, and the vision was the sod of his own existence. After losing everything, every layer stripped away, every structure demolished, what remained was the Tselem, pure, naked, indestructible. And from this exposed Tselem, reconstruction happened in proportions that exceeded everything he had lost, not as compensation. As a finally unobstructed expression of the original design, in the comments of this video, write the word appear, in capital letters, appear. This is the existential translation of Hineni. It is you saying, I stop hiding, I stop minimizing what I carry, I stop apologizing for existing in the dimension in which I exist. I appear, with my Tselem, with my Yetzer, with everything I am, including what still scares me. Write, appear now. Let us get to the solution. Because knowing you carry a Tselem is one thing. Expressing that Tselem in the midst of a life built to suppress it is another. First movement, identify what you suppress. Not what you would like to do, what you actively suppress. There is a difference. Desire is something you have not yet realized. Suppression is something that already exists in you and that you push down every day. It might be the desire to teach, but you convinced yourself you don't have enough training. It might be the capacity to care for people, but you convinced yourself that doesn't pay the bills. It might be an artistic sensitivity, but you convinced yourself that art is for those who can afford the luxury. Suppression has an unmistakable emotional signature. It appears as inexplicable irritation when you see someone doing that which you suppress in yourself. If you feel anger or discomfort seeing someone living fully, something that lives within you, that anger is the Tselem protesting. Psychological Science, one of the most respected publications in psychology, published data showing that functional envy, the envy that appears specifically toward people who do what we desire to do, is one of the most reliable indicators of suppressed potential. Envy is not a moral defect, it is a diagnosis. It points with surgical precision to where the Tselem is being blocked. Second movement, give the Tselem a minimum viable exit. I am not asking you to quit your job tomorrow. I am not asking you to change your life radically. I am asking you to find a crack. 15 minutes a day, like the cellar we discussed, dedicated exclusively to the expression of that which you suppress. If it is writing, write 15 minutes a day. If it is music, play 15 minutes a day. If it is helping people, find one person to help. If it is teaching, record a 15-minute audio explaining something you master. The crack does not need to be large. It needs to exist. The Institute of Psychiatry of the USP Faculty of Medicine published research demonstrating that regular expression, even on a minimal scale, of suppressed creative capacities produces measurable effects in reducing symptoms of anxiety and depression in adults. The mechanism is simple. When the Tselem finds an exit, the pressure decreases, and when the pressure decreases, the pain decreases. You are not sick, you are congested. And the cure is not medication, it is expression. Third movement, practice Hineni on a micro scale. Total Hineni, that absolute presence of Abraham at Moriah, is the destination, not the starting point. You begin with micro Hinenis, small moments in which you choose to appear instead of hiding. The next time someone asks your opinion, say what you really think, not what is safe. The next time an opportunity arises that scares you, say yes before calculating all the risks. The next time someone praises you for something that matters to you, Do not minimize it, receive it. Each micro-hineni is a brick in the reconstruction of the bridge between who you are and who you present. And each brick reduces the abyss that is exhausting you. The Stanford Social Innovation Review published an analysis on authentic leadership, showing that leaders who practiced what researchers called incremental transparency, the gradual and consistent revelation of the authentic self in professional contexts, generated teams with significantly higher rates of trust, engagement, and innovation. Authenticity is not a leap, it is a process, and the process begins with a micro-hineni. Activate the notification bell of this channel now, because in the next video, I will open a concept that is the natural unfolding of the tselem, the concept of kavod, the personal glory that is not vanity, but the specific weight of your presence when you finally stop diminishing yourself. If you have made it this far, I need to close with something I want you to take with you for the rest of the week. Remember Job? The man who lost everything and after everything said, "Before I knew you by hearing, now my eyes see you." Do you know what he saw? He didn't see answers. He didn't see explanations for suffering. He didn't receive a map of the future. What he saw, and this is the deepest sod of the entire book, was himself. He saw his own tselem, exposed after all the layers were stripped away. He saw who he was when he had nothing left to hide behind. No possessions, no title, no children, no health, just him. And he discovered that this him, naked, wounded, with nothing, was enough. It was more than enough. It was the starting point for everything that would come after. You do not need to lose everything to find your tselem, but you need to stop hiding behind the layers. The performance, the adequacy, the modesty that is not humility but fear, the productivity that is not vocation but escape. One by one, these layers must go, not with violence, with honesty, with that silent courage to say, "This here is not me." And when the last layer falls, when you are before your own life without a mask and without a script, what will remain is not a void. It is tselem. It is the original impression, the stamp of the seal, the mark that no circumstance managed to erase, no matter how hard it tried. Share this video with someone who is living a life smaller than the one they carry inside, someone who has more to give than they are giving, someone who hides, diminishes themselves, conforms, and suffers from it every day without understanding the cause. This person needs to know that the pain is not from lack, it is from contained excess, and that there is a word for what they need to do. Hineni. Here I am. Tselem. Yetzer. Hineni. You are not here by accident. You carry something that no one else carries. And the world does not need you to be more. It needs you to be what you already are. Appear.
Attention, you need to prepare now. I put together an exclusive resource for those who feel set apart for something greater, but live surrounded by noise, distractions, and mental overload. This is a 30-day journey that will transform your life, a guided path to armor your mind and prepare for what's coming, with daily practices of focus, boundaries, and discipline. Stop negotiating with the noise. Learn to spot distractions before they control you and strengthen your mind. Also available in an immersive audio version. Over 10,000 readers have already transformed their lives through the 30-day journey. Thousands of people have already started this transformation. People like you who were tired of living in the fog, ordinary people who decided to stop accepting mental chaos. Take advantage of this limited time offer only this month. Access your link just below in the pinned comment.